The bottle of extra virgin olive oil in your kitchen right now? Statistically, it's more likely to be a lie than the truth. Studies by the University of California, Davis found that a majority of imported extra virgin olive oil sold in American supermarkets failed the legal standard for extra virgin. Not a little off, not borderline, fake. This is Hungry Empire. By the end of this, you'll know exactly what's in that bottle, who's responsible, and why the fraud has survived every crackdown for decades. You'll also know the one thing on a label that actually means something, and it isn't the word Italian. Walk into any grocery store in the United States, and the olive oil shelf looks like a postcard from Tuscany. Dark glass bottles, hand-lettered fonts, rolling hills on the label. First cold press. Extra virgin. Product of Italy. The price says premium. The implication is clear. What's actually inside is a different story. Extra virgin is a legal designation. To qualify, olive oil must be pressed from fresh olives, without heat or chemical processing, and it must meet strict chemical thresholds. Acidity below 0.8%, certain peroxide levels, and it must pass a sensory panel of trained tasters. That last part matters, because the difference between real extra virgin and the cheap stuff is something you can smell and taste. Real extra virgin is grassy, peppery, slightly bitter. Fake oil is bland, flat, sometimes rancid. The fraud works because most consumers can't tell the difference, and the profit margin is extraordinary. A liter of genuine extra virgin, cold-pressed from hand-harvested Italian olives, costs real money to produce. A liter of refined lampante oil, the lowest grade, literally named for the oil lamps it was historically burned in, costs a fraction of that. Blend them, add a little chlorophyll for color, a few drops of beta-carotene, and bottle it with a scenic label. The supermarket shelf doesn't know the difference. Neither does the scanner at checkout. Here's what most people assume: that product of Italy means the olives came from Italy. It doesn't. Under EU labeling rules loosened under industry pressure, oil can be labeled product of Italy if it was bottled and packaged in Italy, even if the olives were grown in Tunisia, Morocco, or Spain. Some estimates suggest Italy imports more olive oil than it produces domestically, processes it, and re-exports it as Italian. The olives never saw an Italian tree. The label isn't technically illegal. It's just designed to mislead. And then there's the organized crime angle. Because, of course, there is. Italian prosecutors and the Carabinieri, Italy's national police force, have documented for decades that olive oil fraud has been linked in part to organized crime networks. The economics are hard to resist. The margin between cheap refined oil and premium extra virgin retail prices can be several times over. In 2016, the investigative unit of Italian police, the Nucleo Agroalimentare e Forestale, ran a series of raids seizing millions of liters of mislabeled oil. Operation Mamma Mia, the name was real, dismantled networks that had been pumping adulterated product into European and American markets for years. Prosecutors in Naples described the olive oil trade as more profitable per kilogram than cocaine trafficking, with far lower legal risk. That same year, a 60 Minutes investigation brought the story to American living rooms. The segment traced bottles sold in major U.S. supermarket chains back to Italian companies with documented fraud convictions. The bottles were still on the shelf. The labels still said extra virgin. What gets me about this is the sheer institutional inertia. The fraud isn't a secret. It's been documented in academic papers, prosecuted in Italian courts, exposed on primetime television. And yet, walk into a Whole Foods or a Kroger today, and the same misleading labels are right there at eye level. around $14 a bottle, promising something most of them can't deliver. Here's the part that still doesn't sit right. The regulatory structure was built by the same industry it was supposed to police. The International Olive Council, which sets the global standards for olive oil grading, is headquartered in Madrid and funded largely by olive oil-producing nations. The USDA olive oil standard wasn't updated to match international extra virgin requirements until 2010, and enforcement remains largely voluntary. The FDA has never required mandatory testing of imported olive oil before it hits shelves. The UC Davis Olive Center published their landmark study in 2011. They bought 186 samples of extra virgin olive oil from California and major supermarket chains. Of the top 5 imported brands by U.S. sales volume, a majority of the samples failed extra virgin standards according to the study. Not one brand, 5 brands. A majority. The failure modes varied. Some oils were oxidized and stale. Some were cut with cheaper refined olive oil. Some had been deodorized with heat to strip out the rancid smell. Of every dollar you pay for a bottle of olive oil at a major U.S. supermarket, roughly $10 to $15 for a mid-tier 500 milliliter bottle, the olive grower typically sees well under a dime. The brand and the retailer split the majority. The distributor, the bottler, and the importer take their cuts in between. The person doing the actual work of growing and harvesting olives is at the bottom of a very long chain, and the person at the top has every financial incentive to dilute the product. Put yourself in the position of a small olive farmer in Crete or Andalusia for a moment. You harvest by hand, you press within 24 hours to keep the acidity low, you follow every rule. Your oil tests at 0.2% acidity. Genuine extra virgin. And you compete on the same supermarket shelf, at the same price point, against a bottle of Lampante cut with sunflower oil that carries the same extra virgin label and was produced for 1/5 the cost. The legitimate producer can't survive that market. Many don't. California is one of the few places this is being fought seriously. The California Olive Oil Council runs a mandatory certification program for its members, with independent chemical and sensory testing. California certified extra virgin olive oil is among the more reliably labeled in the world. The trade-off is price. Genuine California extra virgin typically starts around $18 to $20 for 500 milliliters. The counterfeit economics don't work at that price point because the raw ingredient costs are real. So, what do you actually look for? Based on what testing data shows, the PDO seal, Protected Designation of Origin, from the European Union is meaningful because it requires the olives to actually come from the named region and the oil to be tested. California Olive Oil Council certification is meaningful. A harvest date on the label is a strong positive signal. Fraudulent producers don't want to date their product because old oil fails sensory tests. Buy the oil with the most recent harvest date you can find. Extra virgin olive oil isn't wine. It doesn't improve with age. The best oil is this year's oil. What won't protect you? The word Italian, the phrase first cold press, the scenic Tuscan label, the dark glass bottle, or the price. A $17 bottle of fake oil is still fake oil. Here's a take that'll probably land badly with some people. The major U.S. supermarket chains that stock brands with documented fraud histories year after year are operating in a complex supply chain. But they have buying teams, they have supplier audits, and the information is available to them. The decision to keep stocking a cheaper, questionable product next to a more expensive, genuine one, without any label differentiation the average consumer can actually read, is a choice. A profitable one, by most accounts. and nothing has forced them to change it. It's worth asking whether you've ever actually tasted real extra virgin olive oil. Not the kind from the supermarket shelf. The kind with a harvest date, from a certified producer, pressed from olives picked within the last 12 months. The difference isn't subtle. It tastes like olives. It has a peppery finish that makes you cough slightly. That's the polyphenols, the compounds with documented health benefits. The thing in most bottles doesn't do that, which raises the obvious follow-on question. If you've been cooking with it and drizzling it for years, assuming you were getting the health benefits of extra virgin olive oil, were you? The bottle in your kitchen right now. Check the label. Is there a harvest date? Is there a PDO seal or a California certification? If the answer is no, and the label says product of Italy and extra virgin and nothing else, you already know what the data says about that bottle. Every label on your shelf is hiding something. Some of it is just marketing. Some of it is organized crime. We're going to keep pulling them apart. If there's a food you've always trusted but never actually questioned, drop it in the comments. That's what we're here for. Follow Hungry Empire, and we'll see you at the next one. Description: a majority of extra virgin olive oil tested in U.S. supermarkets has failed the legal standard. Olive oil fraud exposed. Find out what's actually in the bottle you buy, and the one label detail that actually matters. Organized crime, Italian Carabinieri raids, and a UC Davis study that changed everything. Olive oil fraud. Investigations by the University of California, Davis found a majority of samples from top-selling imported extra virgin olive oil brands failed the legal standard. Some are cut with cheap refined oils. Some are chemically deodorized lampante, oil originally used in lamps. Italian prosecutors have called the fraud more profitable per kilogram than cocaine trafficking. Operation Mamma Mia seized millions of liters. A 60 Minutes investigation traced fraudulent bottles directly to U.S. supermarket shelves. This video breaks down how the fraud works, who profits, and what to actually look for on a label, including the one certification that genuinely means something. Description: Ornamenti di tam, at. Intro keats, mostly fake. Intro endway teats, read to additional. Ordant alt 1, curiosity, secret. The extra virgin label is one of food's biggest lies. ALT2, number weight, sane scale. Most olive oil labeled extra virgin isn't ALT3. Question: what's actually inside your olive oil bottle? ALT4 with series tag. The olive oil fraud no one stopped. The Hungry Empire. Additional end. Charusi Tau covered. A woman in a grocery store aisle holds a bottle of olive oil at eye level, her expression shifting from trust to visible suspicion. Brows slightly furrowed, mouth just open, as if she's realized something is wrong. The bottle label reads Extra Virgin in elegant serif type. Behind her, the shelf is lined with identical bottles. The lighting is cool and cinematic, the background slightly desaturated to push her and the bottle forward. The left third of the frame is darker, the shadow of the shelving, leaving clean negative space for a text overlay. High contrast, realistic, no stylized filters. Cover E. End.